Hello and welcome to the second show of ATTD TV 2022, coming to you live from the International Convention Center of the ATTD exhibition here at the beautiful city of Barcelona. For those of you who were not with us yesterday, my name is Elena Bayón and I will be moderating the ATTD TV show for the next days. This morning we will review what's coming up today at ATTD 2022. Two plenaries are already behind us. Professor Dezmond Schatz will elaborate about the first plenary of the conference, Prevention and Cure of Type 1 Diabetes. We will also host Professor Skyler, who will talk to us about the development of insulin in the past century. This year, remember, we are celebrating 100 years to this magnificent discovery that helped save so many lives. We'll wrap up this morning's show with the Tech Fair. One of 6 award-winning presenters will get the chance to show his achievements. But first, let's take a look at what's coming up today at ATTD 2022. Today is the busiest day here at ATTD 2022, 30 sessions, and here it's what to look for. Simon Heller, Stephanie Amiel, Pratik Joudary, William Polonsky, and Christian Nogard will discuss hypoglycemia. David Maas, Laurel Messer, Julia Ware, Julia Lawton, and Revital Nembry will have a session about closed loop in very young children. Satis Garg, Son Sullivan, Elhirs, Christoph de Block, and David Klonoff will update us on glucose and ketone monitoring. And of course, how can talk about COVID-19 and diabetes? Bruce Boat and Slomi Salitin will host Varelsa, Antonio Teriello, and Thomas Dan in that matter. One problem, they are all at the same time, but we have also one solution. All sessions are available for 3 months, so no problem there. Plus oral presentations, tech fair, industry symposiums, and a lot more to come. Now it's time to talk about the plenary session that opened the conference, Prevention and Cure of Type 1 Diabetes. For this issue, I would like to welcome Professor Skyler and Professor Dezmond Schatz next to me. Thanks for joining me, both of you. It's a pleasure to have you here on set.
It's nice to be here.
So I want you to let me know, I want you to sum up the session that happened just 1 hour, it finished just 1 hour ago.
Yes. Des was the first speaker in that session, so he can talk about what he said.
So let me know.
Sure. We've come a long way in terms of understanding the natural history of type 1 diabetes. We've tried many therapies, really going back over 40 years, and we've made progress, albeit limited. And we're not there yet. We can't cure the disease and we can't prevent the disease. But so much we've learned about the design of studies and what needs to be done. Part of the challenge that we have is that type 1 diabetes is not one disease. It is a heterogeneous disease. There are different disease processes in young children versus old children. And given that, we are looking for what's called an endotype. And an endotype is a specific process, a mechanism that leads to a specific manifestation of a disease. And that is, we're getting closer to defining that. When we are able to define those endotypes, we'll be able to embark on precision therapy and enable us to hone in on therapies. Cancer's doing it, we can do this in diabetes.
Jay, anything that you want to highlight to take notice?
Well, the second talk was by Professor Chantal Mathieu from Belgium. And she talked about what progress, or really lack of progress, that we've had in arresting type 1 diabetes. But really define some directions that we could take, recognizing that the immune system is central, but that we also have to take care of beta cell health. And it's the question about the beta cell: is it homicide, suicide? Is the beta cell the perpetrator or the victim? And we really need to be paying attention to the beta cell as well as to dealing with the immune system if we're going to be successful.
We'll talk with her later on. Is there anything that you couldn't answer during the questions and answers moment that is always shorter than you should?
Well, there weren't a lot of questions due to the lack of time, but I would just say that I think that the responses that we've received have all been positive. Everyone is excited about the potential for a biological cure. We have to have a biological cure. In the meantime, we're going with an artificial pancreas, which really has changed the lives. But I do want to emphasize that insulin is not a cure, and we really have to understand the mechanism to truly prevent and reverse the disease.
You both have a long relationship with diabetes. When did this relationship started, and how was it?
Well, I started diabetes research as a medical student in 1967, before you were born, and before he was born, probably. And the disease is very different today than it was then. I first went to a diabetes summer camp that we started in 1970. And we had 100 children who came to camp with type 1 diabetes. We didn't call it type 1 diabetes then, it was juvenile diabetes. But they came to camp, and the approach that we took then was very different than what we do today. They were getting 1 shot a day of a long-acting insulin and eating frequently to prevent getting their blood sugars too low. And you never knew what was going to happen, and low blood sugars were just the routine. Now, as Des was just saying, we've got automated insulin delivery controlled by continuous glucose monitoring, and it's just changed the whole face of diabetes. We really have made enormous progress during the time that I've been involved in diabetes. It's just a very different disease today than it was then.
It's been such a huge change. And how does it feel to be in person in a conference again after all the pandemic and all that?
Well, what a great experience just to interact with you, to interact with our colleagues, to see people face to face. It's relationships. Zoom, yes, you can do things in a timely fashion, but you can only take that for so much time. And just to be here, to share experiences, to discuss research, to just catch up with people strengthens those relationships. It's like the relationships that we have with our patients. You need to see them, you need to understand them, and it can only be done in a face-to-face way.
What about you?
I have been so missing face-to-face meetings. And, I had one day over the last 2 years where I spent 14 hours that day on Zoom meetings. I was so depressed from Zoom at the end of that. Now here to have people live and to bump into them and chat about all sorts of things. It's just a wonderful experience.
And we see our smiles as well, which is very important, right?
Yeah, it's important. Well, and Barcelona is a great place to do it.
It's beautiful.
I've been to Barcelona probably 15 or 16 times over the last few decades, and I love Barcelona. It's a great place to come back to for a meeting. It's fantastic.
And is there any certain session you are looking forward to attend to?
There's so many of them that are so good. It's hard to tell you just one.
That's the question.
I think we're probably at the forefront of a lot of the research that's going on in biology as well as in technology, but there's always something new. So you never know what you're going to find. So looking at the program, I'm sure there are going to be some sessions that we'll attend that will learn something new.
Yeah, of course. So now it's time, stay with me because I'm going to come back to you. You are not done yet. And now it's time for a little technology. In the next few days, we will give this stage to one of the 6 award winners at the ATTD Tech Fair. First up, Tatjana Weiss from Panda will elaborate about the potential of stress management by Panda Insight. That's it.
Thank you, Lina. Thank you very much. I'm very happy and excited to be here and talk to you about Panda Insight, actually the app that we have developed. And that's Pandia. Pandia is the first app that measures stress to improve time in range. And I have to admit, I'm very stressed today and nervous. It's the first in-person conference for a really long time. I believe I'm also not the only one. And but for people living with diabetes, stress is also a whole different story, because first of all, it's a huge mental burden to deal with this disease every day. And also stress affects glucose levels. And if we look at diabetes management, we have activity, nutrition, medication, and those three are catered after really well. But then there's also stress, and stress is the missing link, which is kind of neglected so far. And this is why with Pandia we do two things. First of all, we measure stress in an automated way, so there is no manual input required, no extensive surveys, no extensive measurements. It's totally automatic. And from those input, we create 3 scores, which are very important. We have a stress score, which shows you how stressed you are. It measures over time. Then there is a recovery score, which shows you how well relaxed you are. And also the resilience score, which is actually like the stress tolerance that shows you how well you can handle stress at the moment. But I know it's not enough to tell people, hey, you're stressed. What's most important is, and that we also do within the Pandia app, is to give people just-in-time interventions so they can reduce their stress just when they need it at the right time and at the right price. So the recommendations are totally personalized to the person's needs. So how we do it is that we collect data from wearables like smartwatches, but also smartphones. And then with our AI, we process this data and to create like a digital twin for yourself. So we use individual data to mock your stress levels, your status, and then based on this data, we can provide you with actionable recommendations. So if you want to learn more about Pandia, we have our booth over there. It's booth 37 in the tech fair, and you're invited, and we would be really happy to talk to you about Pandia and your input on this. And I have also a presentation on Thursday, and I would be very happy if you would join me and learn more about Pandia and Panda Insight. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for this enlightening speech. You can see a little bit the exhibition. It's crowded. We are so happy to be back here in-person conference at ATTD 2022. And can you imagine a world without insulin? I can't, and diabetes is not my field, but I couldn't even imagine that. I guess you all know the story that started with Leonard Thompson. It was 100 years ago in Toronto, Canada, and it saves lives not on a daily basis, on a minute basis. So as I have here my experts, we're going to continue with the talk. How can we sum up 100 years of insulin?
Well, you know, the first question you posed to the audience was, can you imagine a world without insulin? I don't know about that, but I can imagine a world without diabetes. And that's what I really would like to see. And the real progress, the kinds of things we're trying to make, are to make it a world without diabetes. That we can get there and modify the course of the disease, perhaps very different ways, precision medicine, as Des has pointed out, and and really overcome the disease. In the meantime, we're going to have insulin. We need it to keep people alive and functioning, and it's crucial how we use it. We've changed from using it in a primitive way 100 years ago, multiple injections of a dirty mixture each day, which created local infections where you injected it. It was a mess. But as the years have gone on, insulin has just improved in purity, in the ability to use it, and now to automate its delivery based on blood sugar. We've seen an enormous amount of progress, and I really am optimistic that the whole field is changing.
We are all very optimistic. And is there anything that, for instance, you think could have been done in a different way, or?
I think it's just progress. Everybody wants things to happen more quickly. But if we were to go back and have a look and see the evolution of devices and insulin and delivery systems, they're quite incredible. And really, today, over the last few years in particular, these hybrid closed-loop systems have really improved the lives of patients with diabetes. When I speak to my families and I ask them, what is it that you really need? Obviously, it's a life without insulin. But for them is, doctor, what can we do to make life easier for me and make lives easier for my children and their families? And we've gotten to the point that we are making lives easier and people are worrying less because the devices and the technology has improved so much.
And it's still improving. And as you said before, a world without diabetes would be our main objective. So how far can we go? How does the future look like related with these technology advances, treatments?
Well, you know, it goes much slower than people would hope. One of the very last talk at this meeting, I'm going to talk about the difference between hope and hype. And they differ by one letter. And, you know, if we go back to the 1970s, people were saying, oh, we're going to cure diabetes in 5 years. And now we are 50 years later, and we're still working on the same concepts, but we're making greater progress. But people ask me, well, how long is it going to take, for example, to get cells that will replace the beta cells and get them to be used routinely? And the answer is, I hope we do it in my lifetime. But I can't be sure because, you know, science reaches, it's one page at a time, and you reach unpredictable hurdles, and you must challenge and overcome each and every one of them, and we learn new things that are impeding our progress, but we're going to get there someday, and I just hope I'm alive to see it.
So apart from insulin, what would you tell our audience that maybe they don't know?
I think we need to be optimistic and we need to have hope, because I think that we're understanding more and more each day about what causes diabetes and what doesn't cause diabetes, and what are the mechanisms that are involved in these deaths of these beta cells. Once we get to those mechanisms, we're going to be able to institute a therapy aimed at its prevention. That is absolutely key. We're getting there. It's just a matter of when.
And now that we are at the ATTD 2022, how did that contribute to the development of the diabetes treatment, this huge conference, this international conference? How does it contribute to?
Well, you know, we're here, and we have so many different things going on at this meeting. You pointed out earlier, 30 sessions today.
Crazy.
So much is happening in the field.
Yeah.
And I think that it's all great to see this kind of progress. And my hope is that we're going to continue to make that progress. We need to be optimistic. We need to be committed. And I think it can be done.
You both are very committed to diabetes. Before I was already asking you why you chose this field. You're still into the field. You're still very optimistic, and I can see your energy. So it's amazing.
It's true. We've got to have optimism, and I think both of our lives have been dedicated to improving the lives of people with type 1 diabetes, and also seeking that prevention and cure. That's the goal. That's purpose.
Okay, so thank you very much. If there is anything else that you want to add, you're more than welcome to say whatever you want to add to the audience.
I will just say to the audience, you know, we're going to get there, and stay with us. Give us a chance. We are going to get this disease conquered.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been such a great pleasure, and enjoy the rest of the days here at ATTD. I will be here, so you are more than welcome to come back. Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you
Thank
too.
you.
Okay, it was such a wonderful conversation. We are approaching the end of another ATTD TV 2022 studio session. I think I can get used to it. We are going to have a few more during today, and of course the following days. I'll be here live at 2:30 p.m. with another show of the ATTD TV. Enjoy your day. I see you later. Goodbye.